Last time on History in Motion, we have discussed the dangerous animals Stone Age people have faced. For most of human history, we were not the hunters, we were the hunted. Long before cities and civilization, a small band of Stone Age people walked a world ruled by giant lions, saber-toothed killers, and crocodiles so feared their name means eater of humans. Every trip to the river, every step beyond the firelight was a gamble with death. In this documentary, travel back to an age when our ancestors shared the night with monsters, and surviving them wasn't guaranteed. If you haven't watched that video, I put the link in the description box. Please go and check it out. And now, let's continue our today's journey. Imagine a world where the ground is shaken beneath the weight of a titan. A time when enormous beasts roamed the frozen tundras and dense forests. Mammoth with a sprawling tusk, saber-toothed cat with fang-like dagger, and ground sloth the size of an elephant. Humanity was not alone on the stage of life. We were surrounded by giants. But then, almost suddenly, they were all gone. Within a few thousand years, these colossal creatures vanished, leaving only bones and whisper in the rocks. What happened to them? Were they victim of a changing planet or an increasingly clever primitive called Homo sapiens? This is the story of Megafauna of the Stone Age, the rise of Earth's giant, their coexistence with early human and their mysterious existence that changed the course of an evolution forever. The Stone Age was the earliest and the longest chapter of human history which spanned around millions of years. It began long before cities, kingdom, or even agriculture. Humanity's world was wild, raw and untamed. Earth itself was different, locked in cycle of ice and thaw known as ice ages, shaping continents and life into new forms. During this fluctuating climate, something extraordinary happened. Animals grew enormous. Scientists used the name Megafauna to describe this supersized species, land animal weighing over 44 kilograms, about 100 pounds, though many far exceeded that. From the mammoth stud steppe of Eurasia to the jungle of South America and the grassland of Australia, the planet teemed with megafauna. Elephant looked small beside the towering mammoth and mastodons. North America had the towering short-faced bear standing over 3 meters tall when rearing up. Australia interior hosted the Diprotodon, a Volkswagen-sized cousin of today's wombat. But these weren't isolated monsters. They were masterpieces of evolution, each adapted to survive the harsh and unpredictable environment of the Pleistocene Epoch, roughly 2.6 million to 11,700 years ago. To understand their story, we must step back into these frozen threads of life, a landscape of ice, fire, and survival. In the northern hemisphere, the world was locked in permafrost. A frigid expanse stretched from Europe across Siberia and down into North America. This was the mammoth steppe, often called the Serengeti of the Ice Age. Here roamed woolly mammoth, massive creature covered in thick fur, their labyrinthine tusks curling dramatically outward. Their every footfall pressed ancient snow into history. Nearby grazed herds of steppe bison and wild horses, while predators like cave lion and saber-toothed cat prowled the periphery, watching and waiting for their weakness. For early humans, particularly Neanderthal and later Homo sapiens, these plains were both perilous and plentiful. A single mammoth could feed an entire tribe for weeks. Its bones became shelter frames, its tusks were carved into tools and art. Caves in France and Siberia still bear etching of mammoth rendered with hunting precision, proof not only of their presence, but of their spiritual importance. Across the ice bridge that once connected Siberia and Alaska, the Bering Land Bridge, humans arrived in a world of giants. North America then resembled a prehistoric zoo. Saber-toothed cat, American lion, dire wolf, and giant ground sloth shared the plain with mastodon and enormous bison. The Glyptodon, a car-sized armadillo, waddled through the grassland, protected by a shell so sturdy it could repel most predators. Imagine encountering such a creature, armored, slow moving but indomitable, like a living tank. And high in the mountain stalked the short-faced bear, possibly the largest carnivorous mammal ever to exist on land, which is towering over twice the height of a human. Its terrifying speed and strength made it a formidable rival even for organized hunting bands. South America hosted yet stranger wanderers. The giant sloth Megatherum standing upright could reach leaves atop tree 8-meter high. A single swing of its claw could disembowel a predator. These were animals designed for eternity, but eternity had other plans. Far from the icy north, ancient Australia hosts its own collection of megafauna marvels. Long before kangaroo hooved in the outbreak, creatures of mystic dimension dominated the continent. There was Diprotodon, a massive marsupial herbivore weighted nearly 3 tons, the largest of its kind ever to live. Towering above the scrubland was Proctodon, a giant short-faced kangaroo that did not hop but walked with a powerful stride. And perhaps most awe-inspiration of all, Megalanian, a giant monster lizard growing over 7 meters long, the undisputable apex predator of its realm. When the first human ancestor of modern Aborigine Australians arrived around 65,000 years ago, they stepped into a world like a dream. Their oral tradition may still echo those encounters, tales of monstrous lizard, huge bird and marsupial giants. Legends like the bunny ape could very well be cultural memories of these vanished animals. Europe's prehistoric landscape featured formidable beasts that later become symbols of myth themselves. The massive woolly rhino gazed beside mammoth on icy plain. Giant egg known as megaliths displayed anthers spanning more than 3.5 meters, almost like natural crowns. Cave lion stalked mammoth herd and in the dense forests of southern Europe roamed straight tusked elephant, distant kin to the Africa giant of today. To the people of this frozen era, survival depends on reading nature's pattern, the migration of beasts, the weathering of ice, and the timing of season. In their world, mythology and ecosystem intervened seamlessly. To hunt was to worship, and to live was to remember. Despite their existence thousands of years ago, megafauna continues to capture ours. Consider this: the first fossil discoveries of mammoth bone in Europe puzzled every naturalist, who mistook them for the remains of biblical giant or even ancient dragon. In fact, the word fossil comes from Latin for dug up, reflecting the mystery of these relics before scientists understood them. Let's unravel few fascinating truths and myths. First, all megafauna died because of the ice. But the truth is, many actually thrived during colder climate and only disappear when the earth warmed up. A counterintuitive twist that suggests climate change alone does not explain their demise. Another myth is human never faced megafauna directly. But the truth is, archaeological sites like the Clovis settlement in North America and the Yano Rhino horn site in Siberia show clear evidence of human interacting and hunting. So stone spear point found embedded in mammoth bone reveal that humans weren't bystander. They were active players in this grand story. Another myth is that megafauna vanished in one catalytic event, but the truth is their extinction happened continent by continent over thousands of years, often aligning suspiciously well with the arrival of humans. So what truly wiped out the megafauna? Scientists still wrestle with this prehistoric mystery, but most hypotheses fall into three intervened forces: climate change, human pressure, and ecological imbalance. As the last ice age warmed around 12,000 years ago, Earth began to warm rapidly. Vast ice sheet retreated, sea level rose, entire ecosystem vanished as thunders turned into forest and grassland shaken into isolated patch. The lush mammoth steppe, which had sustained countless herbivores, fragmented into pockets of unsuitable habits. Large animals, dependent on immense grazing range and steady climate pattern, simply could not adapt fast enough. Their population dwindled, birthing a slow motion extinction that spread like a shadow across continents. While climate often gets most of the blame, the rise of humanity cannot be separated from the fall of megafauna. Wherever human arrived, Australia, North America, even remote Pacific island, the great beasts soon followed a tragic pattern. First contact, brief coexistence, then disappeared. Our ancestors were ingenious hunters, toolmaker and strategist. Fire gave them control over landscape. Cooperation gave them power that no single predators had before. A hunting party of well-organized humans could bring down a mammoth using coordination, persistence, and evolutionary weaponry. Even if humans hunted only a few individuals each year, for species that reproduce slowly, like mammoth or giant sloth, this could still the balance. Evolution had not prepared megafauna for intelligence, organized hunter capable of predating and manipulating their every move. Once the giant vanished, ecosystem collapsed in subtle but profound way. Without mammoth trampling snow and clearing forests, thunders become boggy and overgrown. The loss of large geyser alter carbon cycle possibly even accelerate climate change, a phenomenon scientists call the megafauna thunders hypothesis. In essence, the existence of the giant did not just mark the end of a biological era, it changed the very breath rhythm of the planet. The disappearance of megafauna proudly reshaped humanity's destiny. These creatures weren't just part of the environment, they were part of our story. Hunting such massive beasts demanded intelligence, cooperation, and innovation. Research suggests that the social evolution of humans, our capacity for planning, communication, and empathy, was honed through these high stake hunts. A single mammoth kill required coordination among dozens of hunters. Early humans learned to read animal behavior, develop traps, and shape resources. Around the threat of survival emerged something deeper, storytelling. Cave paintings like those of Chavit and Lascaux aren't mere decoration. They might be the earliest documentaries, visual records of hunt and reserves. Artists painted what they feared, admired, and depended on. When the megafauna disappeared, humans faced an existential pivot. The loss of those abundant food sources pushed society towards new strategies. By around 10,000 years ago, many communities began experimenting with agriculture and domesticating small animals. The Neolithic Revolution, the dawn of farming, can be seen as humanity's adaptation to a world it had unintentionally reshaped. The extinction of megafauna forced humans to become creators rather than hunters of abundance. Even long after the last mammoth fell, their ghosts haunted human imagination. Myth of dragon, thunder beast, and giant spirit may have evolved from ancient encounter or older tradition passed on through millennia. In Siberia, local folklore called mammoths earthborn, believing they belong to great underground beast. In ancient China, dragon bone dug from the earth was actually fossil of mammoth and prehistoric rhino. These stories prove one truth. Even when giants vanished, they never truly left us. The story of Stone Age megafauna is more than a tale of extinction. It's a mirror to our own nature. It shows how our ingenuity, our hunger, and our power to adapt can both create and destroy. Once we share the earth with giants, today only their shadow remain in fossil, in myth, and in our DNA. And perhaps what we truly inherited from them is perspective. A reminder that our species has always been part of a large fragile web of life. The megafauna extinction was the first great ecological tragedy written by human hands, a warning echo that still reverberates as modern species fight for survival. As we explore the past, we are also glimpsing into the future. The fall of the giant may have ended an age, but it began a new one, the age of humans. And maybe, just maybe, if we listen to the bones and whisper of that lost world, we can learn how not to repeat the history. The giants are gone, but the story isn't over, because understanding their past may hold the key to our survival. Thank you for joining. If you like this video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And join me next time as we continue our journey from stone to silicon.